Welcome to the Money and Meaning Show with Jeff Bernier, a show dedicated to helping you gain the confidence and freedom to lead a life of personal significance and help you get your actions and resources in alignment with what matters most.
Well, hello and welcome to the Money and Meaning Show. This is our Perspectives broadcast where I provide just a few insights on some things I'm thinking about or reading that you might find helpful. So today we'll do a Perspectives broadcast. So welcome. You know, we live in uncertain times. I mean, what can we say? These are uncertain times. Of course, we lived in uncertain times 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We always live in uncertain times. Do you journal? I started doing a daily journal about over 30 years ago, I think. And in particular eras or times when I feel like the environment's a little crazy or uncertain, it's really instructive to go back and read some past journals. For instance, if I go back and read my journal 23 years ago, right around 9/11, or 17 years ago during the great financial crisis, or even just, back in 2020 during the pandemic, it's really good to relive some of those visceral emotions that are so easy to forget as we're going through times that presently may feel particularly troubling. It's really good to go back and relive some of those to understand, we've been here before. I've been thinking about this a little bit lately, as some of you are reacting to some of the things that are going on politically. So about 48% of you may feel like, that voted for the candidate that didn't win the presidential election, that, all of this change and all of this chaos is scary and troubling. Another 50% or so of you may think that, this is the beginning of a new golden era and may be euphoric and think that don't worry about risk and great days are ahead. And so what I want to do is provide a little perspective and a little balance or balance to some of this. And, those of you that are a little concerned or scary, I mean, I know exactly how you feel. I remember back in March of 2009, the President of the United States made a speech that basically said if you were a bondholder in General Motors or Chrysler, you should essentially tear up your contracts, your legally binding contracts, and come to the table to help General Motors and Chrysler survive. And why, that's a good thing. We want the auto industry to survive. The government intervening in private contracts. I thought that we had moved into a dangerous world. I thought the world had actually changed forever. And I was really concerned about it. But you know what? It didn't change the world. I mean, markets responded, adjusted, and healed. It didn't really fundamentally change the capital markets, but I was quite concerned about it. And so it seems, we always think that the current crisis is, quote, unprecedented, that this time is different. We forget, again, as I mentioned, how we felt in previous episodes. So it's helpful to remember that, this too shall pass. It's also helpful, I think, to think about the difference in risk and uncertainty. So risk can be defined as the variability within known bounds. And we attempt to manage risk, through things like insurance and defensive strategies and diversification and all the things that you're aware of. So we can quantify, measure, and try to manage risk. And Carl Richards says that risk poses the question, what could happen? But the better question is, what impact will it have on me? I saw a speaker recently from the Federal Reserve Bank, and he went through tons of illustrations and forecasts about expectations, about what they think will happen. And it just really occurred to me that, no one knows, including the Fed. So again, it appears to me that, it is an important skill to manage risk. But I think probably a more valuable skill is to just manage our uncertainty, how we deal with uncertainty. And that's really what most people worry about. Uncertainty is the variability with no known bounds. What Donald Rumsfeld once called unknown unknowns, things that we don't know that can hurt us. So I just have, from looking back at my past journals and other things that we had talked about during past times that people were afraid or concerned, these are just a few strategies for dealing with uncertain, quote, particularly uncertain times. Number one, get clear on your values. It's really important to be clear on what you believe. I found in my life that, your faith background can be helpful here, regardless of your religious affiliation. I mean, in my case, I know that God owns it all and is in control. And so I worry about what he gives me to control, and I'll let God control the rest. Number two, faith in the future. If you study history, you should be a rational optimist. Number three, play the long game. As I mentioned, the pendulum swings back and forth. Related to this, be really selective about what you read or watch. Morgan Housel, who is really a great writer, I heard him say once that when he's reading content or watching content, a question he always asks himself is, will this be important 10 years from now? In other words, will what I'm watching or what I'm reading matter 10 years from now? And it's fine to read or watch stuff that won't matter 10 years from now, but it's really helpful to be discerning about what really is transformational that may be relevant 10 years from now, and what's just, and most of the content, most of the news or the articles or the programming that we put out is really not going to be that valuable 10 years from now. Number five, focus on others. Helping others is oxygen to your soul. And during challenging times, that can be really helpful. Focus on relationships. Focus on creating value, which I guess is kind of related to helping others. Focus on opportunities. It really is an exciting time to be alive. Now, I recognize that it can seem chaotic, and the deck chairs are moving around, and figuring out who the winners and losers are going to be is really quite difficult. But it will change creates great opportunity. So focus on where you can extract some value from this opportunity. Focus on your progress. It's easy to get into this negative loop. So at least daily, focus on what you've accomplished. So have a positive focus. Focus on progress. As I mentioned, while taking a wide view on content, in other words, thinking and playing the long game and thinking about the content that you absorb in terms of will it be relevant 10 years from now or not. So focus on that longer term content, but focus your actions on today. What can you do today? My daughter once, chided me for future tripping. She told me that, you're spending so much time thinking about the future, which you called future tripping. So again, be discerning about the content you absorb, and will this really matter 10 years from now? But focus on the now. Focus on today. Don't worry about things that don't matter or you can't control. So, of course, the corollary to that is to focus on things that you can control that do matter. And there aren't many of those. So focus on what you can control and you do matter. And then finally, focus on gratitude. Find things that you can be grateful for. So these are just a few hacks, if you will, during uncertain or particularly scary times that, I have found to be helpful, and you may find them helpful. As for me, as you probably know, I am a rational optimist. While I know we have tons of challenges to face, I believe in the individual, and I'm optimistic about the future. And in terms of your financial plans, I've said this a lot in the last year during the presidential election cycle. Don't allow your politics to affect your investment strategy. There's tons of research on why allowing your politics to affect your investment decisions is a terrible idea. And so remember, in terms of investing, all successful investing is goal-focused and planning-driven. All failed investing is market-focused and performance-driven. All successful investors are continuously acting on a plan, and all failed investors continually react to markets, the economy, and to news, things that are basically unknowable. So our mission in this broadcast and in our firm is to help our clients and to help you, the audience, create clarity and confidence to live a great life. And I think some of these ideas and strategies can help you do that. So I hope you found this helpful. You can check out past episodes of the Money and Meaning Show wherever you watch your podcast and your streaming. If you found it interesting or helpful, please give us a rating or give us some comments. You can reach me at moneyandmeaning@tandemgrowth.com. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Money and Meaning Show with Jeff Bernier, a show dedicated to help you gain the confidence and freedom to lead a life of personal significance and help you get your actions and resources in alignment with what matters most. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments on the show, feel free to reach out to us at moneyandmeaning@tandemgrowth.com, or you can find us on the web at www.tandemgrowth.com. Jeff Bernier is the President and Chief Investment Officer at Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This show is a production of Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC. All information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Listeners should not rely on the content of this podcast as the basis for any investment decisions. A professional advisor should be consulted and/or independent due diligence should be conducted before implementing anything discussed in this show. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, does not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, does not make any representations or warranties as to the accuracy, timeliness, suitability, completeness, or relevance of any information prepared by any unaffiliated third party, such as guests on the podcast, and takes no responsibility for the same.